And welcome back, everyone, to the Zanpakuto creation series. We're back with that for another month, and then we're back to the Resurrection. So, from Midnight Fox, we have the question of what is Natsu Dragnel's Zanpakuto? Another instance of where I can actually take most of his abilities and convert that into a Zanpakuto. I don't normally go to that as my go-to option because that's not what a Zanpakuto necessarily is. I'm not converting Rasengans for Naruto or Shadow Clones for Naruto into one ability. I'm looking for what suits him, what is a representation of his soul, all that. But there are characters in fiction where their abilities, who they are as a person, are kind of linked together. I feel like Natsu is certainly one of those characters where the Dragon Slayer ability kind of works. Now, that being said, standard katana for his Zanpakuto. It is an elemental type. It's released to be consume the hearth, which is obviously where you fires and hearts and things along those lines. Its name would still be Fire Dragon Slayer or Hio Ryo Sureya, and its Bankai is simply Fire Dragon King based off his strongest mode, or simply Hio Ryo. Oh, its spirit would ironically, in my opinion, be the Igneal, the fire dragon. I think that is the spirit he has within it. And just like, say, Yamamoto's Zanpakuto, it's mostly a Zanpakuto that looks like it's on fire. It might change its shape a little bit. Maybe it looks more similar to like Ichiko's Fullbring Zanpakuto, where it's got some extra prongs on there, something like that. But in essence, it's just an elemental sword. Now, what this Zanpakuto actually does is very simple. It allows him to, throw fire. It has the same relative abilities as Yamamoto's Ryujin Jaka, but it would be on, or say, Ishin's Engetsu, but on a weaker level. Like, it's certainly not Ryujin Jaka. Very few Zanpakuto are even close to Ryujin Jaka in terms of the level of power that is displayed by them. However, it would still carry over other abilities, say, from Natsu, particularly if he goes against other fire. He is able to absorb it and increase his own power. Now, that is a very niche ability of the Zanpakuto, admittedly. You don't see same elemental users almost ever in Bleach go up against each other. But it would still be an ability he carries. Plus, he also has the ability to eat lightning as well, hence lightning Dragon Slayer magic. So this, in essence, means he can eat plasma, is what it really means. Because he's consuming lightning. Lightning is a form of plasma. So is fire. So it's really more that he can consume plasma. Now, while this still doesn't give him, in the grand scheme of Bleach, a lot of options in terms of who he's fighting, this does give him a Zanpakuto that if he went up against someone like Candace with a Thunderbolt, or Gonryo, or Sasakibe with Gonryo Maru, or Yamamoto, with the exception of dealing with Yamamoto's Bankai, because that's very different, he actually has a perfect counter for Yamamoto's Bankai. He can literally just continue to eat Ryujin Jaka's flames, because the one catch is he can't eat fire that he makes. And so even if he uses fire and it spreads, it wouldn't matter because he made the fire. But if it's someone else making the fire, that's something where Natsu can also recover. He can increase his power, all that. Now, with that being said, the Bankai of this, I think you are still looking at something that's, again, similar in nature to Ryujin Jaka, or Zanka no Tachi in this case, where it's condensing the power of this Zanpakuto. But instead, I think it's more, he has more outwards, like he doesn't have the aura of fire around him. But just moving around creates fire. He looks more draconic. Like he looks probably like he looks probably a bit more like a dragonborn with wings, something along those lines. So it's certainly a Zanpakuto that, in its nature, is a really good option for someone to go against the same element. Man, that sentence didn't come out right at all. It functions similarly to something like a Ryujin Jika, or allegedly what Ishin's probably, Engetsu probably works like. But ultimately, it does function different. Like, it's actually probably more of a physical Zanpakuto than something like Ryujin Jika or Sankan no Tachi, just due to the fact that Natsu is more of a physical fighter. He's certainly got range abilities with fire. He's still got fire absorption. And so he's still all that, but especially when he goes in the Bankai, he's got the dragon-esque abilities. I think it's more designed for close range combat, apart from all its other abilities as well. Plus, still having plasma absorption to go with it. So the catch-22s with this Zanpakuto, what are they? Well, I mean, yeah, he's be able to produce fire. Nowhere near as much as, say, Ryujin Jika can, but he can still produce a lot of fire. But that does still make him weak to water-based moves or energy absorption type of techniques as well. It's still one of it's got the same base weaknesses as any fire-based Zanpakuto would have, more or less. The only thing is he can't access the supplementary abilities like absorbing plasma unless he is able to, like, you could make an argument, well, maybe he absorbs Ryatsu instead. Well, then that just kind of defeats the point of it. Maybe he can absorb, like, pure Reishi or pure Ryatsu, like a Getsuga Tensho. Maybe he can do something along those lines, because it does act in a vein like plasma, so maybe there's different varying degrees of attacks he can absorb, like just straight Reishi attacks or Ryatsu-based attacks, like Getsuga Tensho or Benihime attacks. He can't absorb as effectively, but it could still absorb them to increase his power and recover. But things that are actually straight pure plasma that are supposed to be like lightning, fire, whatever, he can absorb more effectively. I think that works. As for the Bankai itself, it's all this with added draconic features onto it. He's probably got extra techniques, like all of his techniques that he has in the series, he probably can utilize more effectively when he's in Bankai. So, in terms of weaknesses, I mean, because it functions more in close range combat, he is more susceptible at long range. Again, still has all the weaknesses of the Shikai involved. And in fact, it could be even worse, because if there's someone with an energy absorption ability, he could very well just be completely shut down. Like, Yumachika would be a nightmare opponent for him to deal with in Bankai, because he's now kind of like keeping a lot more of his flames close to the vest unless he's actively attacking with them. So ultimately, it would be problematic. But I, in the long run, think this would be the Zanpakuto that we have for Natsu. This is just my opinion, though. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.